Hello, welcome back to our subject, Contemporary World. And we are now in the last topics for chapter 2. So we are done with these topics, and now we are targeting to finish these 5 topics, which are the theories of global stratification, modernization theory, Walt Rostow's four four stages of modernization, dependency theory in the Latin American experience, and the modern world system. Okay, let's start with the theories of global stratification. So the theories of global stratification, for much of human history, all of the societies on Earth were poor, and poverty was the norm for everyone, but obviously that is not the case anymore. Just as we find stratification among socio-economies, classes within a society like the Philippines, we would also see across the world a pattern of global stratification with inequalities in wealth and power between societies. And now you are going to expose to the different theories of global stratifications, okay? You're going to expose or you're going to learn the different theories of global stratifications. And let's start with the modernization theory. So one of the one of the two main explanation of global stratifications is the modernization theory. So now let's discuss more about this theory. So modernization theory, this theory frames global stratifications as a functions of technological and cultural differences between nations. So it specifically pinpoints to historical events that contributed to Western Europe developing at a faster rate than much of the rest of the world. Then, the first event is known as the Columbian Exchange. So this Columbian Exchange, this refers to the spread of goods, technology, education, and diseases between the Americans and Europe after Christopher Columbus' so-called discovery of Americas. And this exchange worked out well for European countries. And they gained agricultural staples like potatoes and tomatoes, which contributed to population growth and provided new opportunities for trade, while also strengthening the power of the merchant class. So the Colombian exchange worked out much less well. However, for Native Americans, again, however, for Native Americans whose populations were ravaged by the disease brought from the Europe. And it is estimated that in 150 years now, following the Columbus first trip, over 80% of the Native American population died due to disease such as smallpox and measles. Mana siya. Okay? Next. The second historical event is the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries. So this is when technologies like steam power and mechanization allowed countries to replace human labor with machines and increases productivity. Ano siya? So more on technology na siya ang ginagamit. Nag-evolve na siya gamay. Okay? And the Industrial Revolution at first only benefited the wealthy in Western cultures. Okay, of course, kisa may makagamit ng mga machines, ang katulad yung may kaya, mga wealthy nga mga tao. Okay, mahal pa siya bago pa siya gi-produce. Okay, and the Industrial Revolution was very productive that it gradually began to improve standards of living for everyone. And countries that industrialize in the 18th and 19th century, di ba? 18th and 19th century na siya nag-start, saw massive improvements in their standards of living, and countries that did not industrial lag behind because with the use of technology, it makes things easier. Okay. Next, modernization theory rests in the world, rests on the idea that affluence could be attained by anyone. And modernization theory argues that the tension between tradition and technological change is the biggest barrier to growth. And a society that is more stepped in family systems and traditions may be less willing to adopt a new technologies, and the new social system often accompany them. And that is the modernization theory. Okay? So, sa industrialization theory, nagamit na og unsa? Technology. Okay? Next is the wait, 'di ba sa first mostly Colombian Colombian ba to siya? Colombian exchange nga wait. Colombian exchange nga mo na siya ang spread of goods, technologies, education, diseases from the Americans and Europe after Christopher Columbus' so-called discovery of Americans. While ang kaning second historical event in Industrial Revolution, gigamit na jud mismo ang technology and it make things easier sa mga tao. Okay? Okay? Okay. Next, we have the Walt Rostow's 4 stages of modernization. So according to American economists, according to American economist na si Walt Rostow, ang modernization daw in the West took place as it always tends in 4 stages. So these are the 4 stages of modernization by Walt Rostow. So the first is the traditional stage. First na siya ang traditional stage. So this refers to societies that are structures and around small local communities with production typically being done in family settings. Because these societies have limited sources. Gonna take note, these societies have limited resources and technology. And most of their time is spent in laboring to produce food, which creates a strict social hierarchy. So ang ilahang main focus din niya is survival lang po. Survival, okay? And this stage is characterized by subsistence, agricultural-based economy with intensive labor and low level of trading, and population that does not have scientific perspective on the world and technology. Kaya ang ilang focus lang ani sa kaning first nga stage is survival lang. Okay? Next. The second is the take-off stage. This innovation creates new markets for trade. In turn, greater individualism takes hold and social status is more closely linked with material wealth. Again ha, ang social status daw is more closely linked with material wealth. And in this stage, the take-off stage, people begin to use their individual talents to produce things beyond necessities. Ano siya? Igamit na nila ang talent para mag-produce sila mga things beyond sa ilahang mga kipang nginahanglan. The third is the drive to technological maturity. So in which technological growth of earlier periods begins to bear fruit in the form of population growth, reduction in absolute poverty levels, and more diverse job opportunities. So diri ana kalambo-lambo na siya gamay. Kay stages mo na siya. Low, moderate from the high. So nations in this phase or in this stage typically begin to push for social change along with economic change, like implementing basic schooling for everyone and developing more democratic political system. And also, this third stage takes place over a long period of time as standards of living raise, the use of technology increases, and the national economy grows and diversifies. Mana siya ang drive to technological maturity. And the last stage, we have the high mass consumption. Okay, it is when your country is big enough that production becomes more about wants than needs. Mana siya. Okay, again, it is when your country is big enough that ang mga production becomes more about wants and needs. And many of these countries put social support system in place to ensure that all of their citizens have access to basic necessities. Therefore, ang modernization theory in general argues that if you invest capital in better technologies, they will eventually raise production enough that there will be more wealth to go around and overall well-being will go up. So furthermore, the rich countries can help other countries that are still growing or developing by exporting their technologies and things like the agriculture machinery, information technology, as well as providing a foreign aid. So ang akong example is ang agricultural machinery. So sa una, thresher pa, pero karon na harvester. Di ba? Mo na siya ang example sa agricultural machinery nga gi-share sa mga rich countries to the developing countries. Okay? Okay, the next theory is all about the dependency theory and the Latin American experience. So European explorers spread throughout the Americas, Africa, and Asia, claiming the lands for Europe. So at one point, the British Empire covered about 1/4 of the world. So the dependency theory and the Latin American experience discussion. Muna na sila. So there's question, and also after the Second World War, there were many questions about international relations. And the first question is, why are many countries in the world not developing? O nga nung dili man? Because the traditional answer to this question was because the countries are not pursuing the right economic policies or their governments are authoritarian and corrupt. So unsaon pagka-develop sa country kung ang mga kung ang nag-manage nga country is mga authoritarian and corrupt. Okay? Think about it. Next, the Latin American scholars, however, are critical of that answer and are intrigued by the regions under development. And that's according to Sanchez, year 2014. So dependency theory was a product of this experience because dependency is the condition in which the development of the nation or state of the South contributed to a decline in their independence and to an increase in economic development of the countries of the North. And that is the dependency theory. And dependency theory was initially developed by Hans Singer and Rail Pribich in the 1950s and has been improved since then. And this theory points out that economies of periphery countries rely on manual labor and the export of raw materials to core nations in the core countries that then process these raw materials and sell them to a much higher price. And the dependency theory describes a vicious cycle that enforces a hierarchy of nations across the globe. So, dependency theory saw that the development of peripheral nations is stagnant because of the exploitative nature of the core nations. And some countries were not developing around the world because the the international system was actually preventing them from doing so. Mana siya ang reason. Next, Andre Gunder Frank, year 1969, espoused the North American neo-Marxist approach. And he contended the idea that less developed countries would develop following the path taken by the developed countries. So developed countries were undeveloped in the beginning, but not underdeveloped. Again ha, ang developed countries were undeveloped in the beginning. Malamang, lisod po. Mag-una dyan sila sa undeveloped before sila na-develop. Muna siyang gitawag siya nga, developed countries were undeveloped in the beginning, but not underdeveloped. And this means that the path taken by the developed countries does not guarantee the same the same fate for the underdeveloped countries. And according to Frank, he also rejected the idea that internal sources cause a country's underdevelopment. Rather, it is their dependency to capitalist system that causes lack of development. And that's the end of our discussion in the dependency theory and the Latin American experience. And now let's proceed to our last topic, which is all about the modern world system. So what is the modern world system? So this history of colonialism inspired American sociologist Emmanuel Wallerstein model of what he called capitalist world economy. So according to Wallerstein described high income nations as the core of the world economy. And this core is the manufacturing base of the planet where ang mga resources funnel in to become the technology and wealth enjoyed by the Western world today. And that's according to Wallerstein. And that's the end of our modern world system. And this is the end of our chapter 2 discussion. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you learned something new today. And if wala, please do research and do watch again this pre-recorded video for you to learn about this topic, okay? Thank you so much. Keep safe, everyone, and God bless us all. Thank you.